Hello everyone, I am Jinhoo from Video to share. In today's video, we are going to talk about international trade and public policy. After, we will do a quick summary of Unit 2. So let's move on. The first concept of international trade and public policy is quotas, and quotas basically mean a limit on the quantity of imports. It isn't discussed as deeply as tariffs, which we will discuss a little bit later in AP Microeconomics, but it is still an important policy that governments can do to protect producers in their domestic country. However, import quotas are way less used compared to tariffs, as while they both generate the loss, import quotas can't even make tax revenue to the governments. So usually governments prefer tariffs to import quotas. Now, then what is tariff? A tariff is a tax on imported goods. And to think about it a little deeper, you need to understand this graph at the right side. It is a normal supply demand curve, but we have another line, a horizontal line called world price, and this is basically the price which the product is sold in the world market. One thing interesting about this graph is that if the world price is lower than the equilibrium price, then the domestic country acts as an importer, which since now consumers can purchase the product what they want to in a cheaper price, so they want more of the product and they want it not from domestic producers, but from people who produce it in foreign countries. On the other hand, if the world price is over the equilibrium price, the country will act as an exporter, which means that the producers will be able to gain more revenue from selling those products, not only to domestic consumers, but also to the world, since the world price is higher than the equilibrium price. And one thing interesting also is that the country with free trade, the world price equals the price inside the domestic market also. So it means that the price isn't going to be considered at this point in domestic markets. Every quantity sold in the market and purchased in the market is going to be done at this price. Now, considering those facts, let's take a look at this graph again. The world price was below initially, which makes the consumer surplus very large, and the producer surplus relatively small. However, after the tariff, the price goes up by the amount of tax divide, which will lead to a different type of surpluses, revenues, and deadweight losses. Now, consumer surplus decreases to only this amount, while the producer surplus increases to this amount. Now, this rectangle shows the tax revenue of the government, since this is the amount of the tax. Well, this is the quantity which people are going to import it from foreign countries. Tariffs are taxes on imported goods, which means it is basically multiplying the amount of the tax to the quantity of the imported goods. Therefore, this rectangle describes the tax revenue collected by the government. Now, these small two triangles are the deadweight loss of this tax. So while tariffs might benefit producers, it decreases the total surplus and results in a deadweight loss. Okay, so we discussed about international trade and public policy, the final concept, the small chapter or whatever of Unit 2, and now we are going to go through a Unit 2 summary. And as we did before, we're going to do it this way. So I am going to describe each concept about 5 seconds very quick. If you cannot recall it, you better go back to my other videos or other resources, whatever, to check out the concept again. So let's go on. The supply is the schedule of producers willing to sell at each price. Demand is also a schedule of which consumers are willing to purchase at each price. The quantity supplied and quantity demanded refers to the quantity people supply or demand at a certain price. The law of supply illustrates that the quantity supplied increases as price goes up, while the law of demand describes that the quantity demanded will go down as the price goes up. Increase in supply is shown by a rightward shift of the supply graph. The decrease in supply is referred to a leftward shift in the supply graph. And it is the same for the demand curve also. An increase in demand equals to a rightward shift of the demand curve. The decrease in demand refers to a leftward shift in the demand curve. And this is the concept of elasticity. There are elastic, inelastic, unit elastic, which means that the demand, supply, or whatever acts is very responsive to the change in price if it is elastic. If it is inelastic, it means that it is not as responsive. Unit elastic means that it is about unit amount of responsiveness to the change in price, income, whatever. The price elasticity of demand and the price elasticity of supply refers to the responsiveness of consumers or producers due to a change in price. The income elasticity refers to the responsiveness of consumers of their quantity demanded due to a change in their income. Cross price elasticity refers to the elasticity which how much consumers will change their quantity demanded of product A due if the price of a product B increases or decreases, whatever. One thing interesting is if the price elasticity is smaller than when the product is the demand or supply is inelastic. If it is bigger than one, it is elastic. If it is one, then it is unit elastic. In income elasticity, if the income elasticity is positive, the good is a normal good, while if the income elasticity is negative, the good is an inferior good. And in terms of the cross price elasticity, if the cross price elasticity of two products are positive, it means that the increase in price of another good will result in the increase of the quantity demanded of another good, which means that the two goods are substitutes. Well, if the cross price elasticity is negative, the two goods are complements. Market equilibrium refers to a point in which the market demand curve and the market supply curve intersects with each other. The quantity is referred to the equilibrium quantity, while the price is referred as the equilibrium price. Consumer surplus is the region which is this supply demand curve above the price, below the demand curve. The producer surplus refers to a point which is above the supply but below the price. Total surplus is basically the sum of consumer surplus and producer surplus. Market disequilibrium refers to a situation in which the market is at a surplus or is at a shortage. Market surplus describes a situation in which the quantity supplied is bigger than the quantity demanded, while the market shortage refers to a point at which the quantity demanded is bigger than the quantity supplied. Deadweight losses refers to losses that happen because the market is not allocatively efficient at certain points. Usually it happens if there are price ceilings, price floors, taxes, and more. Price ceilings refer to basically a ceiling of the price that is below the equilibrium price to be binding. The price floor refers to a floor in the price, the minimum of a price, which is usually above the equilibrium price. Subsidies are basically money that governments give out to certain industries or firms so that they can make their production costs lower or whatever so that they can do better. Taxes are basically taxes. And if a tax act is divided to suppliers, what happens? Yes, the supply curve shifts up and that creates a tax switch. So this is the price which buyers have to pay. And this is the price where the suppliers are going to earn, and this is the amount of the tax revenue. And the tax incidence talks about which side is going to carry the burden of taxes higher. Is it going to be the people who, the consumers, or is going to be the producers? And usually the more inelastic side has to carry the burden of the tax higher. Finally, this is what we discussed today. Quotas refers to a restriction or limit in quantity of imported goods. Tariff refers to taxes levied on imported goods. So thank you for watching my video again. This was my final video discussing about Unit 2. Next, we will talk about Unit 3, which talks about perfect competition, various types of costs, and more. So again, thank you for watching my video. Feel free to ask questions, subscribe to my channel, please leave comments, leave a like, whatever. So thank you for watching again, and I will meet you after 2 weeks.